The crew of the crippled Norwegian tanker Front Altair arrived at Dubai airport this weekend after 2 days in Iran. Today, America's top diplomat blamed Iran for targeting the tankers.
How certain are you that Iran was responsible?
It's unmistakable what happened here. These were attacks by the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Though not ruling out a military response to the incident, Pompeo said the U.S. is still focused on diplomacy.
We don't want war.
And now the British government says they are almost certain that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps attacked the tankers.
But you'd think it would be pretty obvious who was responsible for this when we actually have video evidence that shows what the Iranians have been doing.
And the U.S. military now saying an Iranian surface-to-air missile targeted a U.S. drone, attempting to shoot it down to prevent the drone from seeing the tanker attack and who was behind it. And tonight, U.S. officials say Iranian forces boarded the damaged tanker Altair after the attack, giving them access to forensic evidence before international investigators arrived on the scene.
Well, let's delve a bit deeper into the story now and speak to James Haynes-Young, foreign editor for The National, and he's in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for talking to us here on the programme. If it's true what the United States as well as Britain is saying, that Iran is behind these attacks, what does that actually mean for the region and the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hugely worrying situation. There's a huge amount of the world's oil and gas comes through the Straits of Hormuz. So, we've already seen oil prices have risen. We've seen insurance premiums on shipping tankers have gone up in the last few days. So already the markets are responding to this additional risk. And we're going to see that kind of play out. Whether or not there are further incidents or escalations in the next couple of weeks or months, obviously remains to be seen, but that could also, spook markets even further.
Mike Pompeo is saying that the United States doesn't want conflict, but at the same time, the United States has sent 2 naval ships to the area. So how likely is the prospect of military action?
Yeah, I mean, the US is increasing its deployment and it's been putting troops in the area for what it says is a deterrence. And I think that, that's very much in line with how the White House is seeing this. What we've got to remember is that, in many ways, Iran is a rational actor. It does not want to see a conflict here. But what Iran does do is it operates up to, what it sees as red lines. So it carries out limited attacks or limited strikes or high-profile incidents that it can then use to bolster its claims that it's made in recent months that it would close the Straits of Hormuz if it wasn't allowed to export oil. But it's not actually going that far because it knows that if it were to take such a drastic step, that would be met with a very swift response, not just by the US, but probably by other Gulf states and by European actors as well. So what it's doing is just taking small steps that it thinks are, not going to draw a large strike from the US, but will send a clear message to those that are watching the incident. But there is obviously this risk involved, which is that Iran has taken action in the past, which is, brings undue risk. It's not always acted rationally. We've seen miscalculations. If you look back at the 2006 war in Lebanon, Hezbollah, which is an Iranian proxy, operated within what it thought were the red lines, but drew a massively devastating conflict with Israel. So there are these risks there. And of course, we also have the additional problem for Iran, which is that the White House under the current administration isn't necessarily that easy to predict. It could take action, with John Bolton, with Mr. Pompeo, be very clear about who they think is responsible. It could draw a larger response than, say, the Obama administration would have done. So I think that all of these things factor in, and it creates a kind of a real risk on the ground and in the Straits of Hormuz. I don't think either side wants a conflict, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.